beginning of this video has poopy audio because I was recording outside on a windy day. I tried to fix it to the best of my ability. But anyways, let's get her done.
Man, so many great things came out in the early 2000s. The Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and the Wii consoles came out, along with some great games. Devil May Cry 3 Easier Edition, Wii Sports. But then another wonderful piece of media would come out for almost all of Gen Z and most of millennials to enjoy. And that would be the movie Cars. Now, saying I liked the movie Cars whenever I was younger would be a little bit of an understatement. I watched the original movie religiously as a kid, and I got a whole bunch of die-cast and bootleg Cars toys. Hell, I even have some Happy Meal Cars toys from 2006.
The queen is fading!
But more recently, as of last year, whenever I started looking up my favorite Cars character on YouTube, I stumbled upon a game that I've never heard of before. Cars, the video game. And I did play it before playing it again for the review, but the reason I waited so long was because I wanted to play the physical copy that I got off of eBay. But I have problems with my capturing methods on the PlayStation 2. I use the worst cables known to man connected to an HDMI converter, so the image looks extremely dark. Meaning I unfortunately had to emulate this game for the purposes of this review so that you could actually see the nighttime sections. But anyways, I think it's time we jump into more of the game. Let's go. I think a really cool thing about this game is that the story actually takes place after the first movie, but the game came out 3 days before the movie even released, depending on where you come from. So technically, that makes the movie a prequel. But in order to actually get through the story of the game, you need to play things in order, because you need to get enough pissed-in cups or mini-games to unlock more of the story. And for this video, I found a Cars game guide and walkthrough that was created almost a year after the game came out, and I did use this guide for the most part. But let's get into the first chapter of the story. There's 5 chapters, by the way. So the first chapter starts with how the first movie starts off, while introducing a new British character named Fletcher. And then we get dropped into the Radiator Springs Grand Prix where we can experience the controls for the first time. Now, I have to say, these controls feel really good when you get to use all of them. You'll see what I mean in a bit. But after winning, we find out that it was just a dream, and Sally figures that his dream meant he wanted some competition. So she gives him some objectives. McQueen then goes to Max saying that he's ready to race. But Max like, hell nah, you're washed. Go get some training done first. And after that friendly interaction, we now get some new events that we can play. One of which is a minigame. But we don't need to play the minigames for the most part. And for the recording I did most of the minigames after beating the game. So we go to our first event, Radiator Cap Circuit, where McQueen gets his ear filled with Fletcher's British lingo. We then start another race with a bunch of British cars. And since we all know that Britons are infamously slow on the road, McQueen wins no problem. But it's not only because Britons are slow, it's also that on the last lap of every race in this game, you get a massive lead. But anyways, after the race, I could go to Sally's Sunshine Circuit, but this game is literally just GTA for kids. But glitchier. Once I got bored, I decided to do Sally's Sunshine Circuit, where Sally and McQueen get interrupted by Mia and Tia, who are his biggest fans.
Okay, wow, well, that's charming.
And they want to take a drive with McQueen, but Sally interrupts the fun that Lightning McGrimmer would have had by making it a race instead, where the winner will take a drive with Lightning. Oh, and Flo is also here. But of course, we win. But the drive and the date will wait till later. Now we've unlocked Doc's power slide lesson, and this can only be unlocked if you don't power slide at all up until this lesson. I know this because I've tested it on both difficulties, and when I recorded this game on my PS2, I did the mistake of power sliding at the start of the game, and as you can see, Doc's power slide lesson is gone. But enough with the confusion. Let's get into the lesson where we just have to drift around a single turn for 3 laps. After we do that, we can race with Doc. Again, if you do power slides before this, you'll completely skip the lesson and just start with this race instead, which is really unfortunate because you'll miss out on the cutscenes in this game. Anyways, we're on the last lap now. Time to win! Now we get a cutscene where McQueen spots Chick Hicks lurking around, but Doc just tells McQueen not to worry about it. After that though, we get to do our first Piston Cup race of the game, so we get in Mac's trailer and head off, where we get to see Daryl Cartrip talking about Chick's unfortunate first place win last season, and how people are going to root for Lightning now since the King is retired.
Chick ain't gonna give up that trophy so easily either. Lightning McQueen? Buddy, you better watch your back.
We then cut to Guido finishing up on tweaking McQueen's tires, when Chick comes to taunt them.
Check it out.
And Doc comes in to tell Chick to piss off.
Back to look after his little boy. Ow, excuse me.
Ehi, cosa ti prende?
Now we actually get to race. And I'm gonna say it right now, the Piston Cup races aren't as fun as the road races. In the road races, there's a bunch of twists and turns that you can learn to maneuver around and shortcuts that you can find, all in the span of 3 laps. However, with the Piston Cup races, you just turn 2 times for 12 laps. But the worst thing about them is that you can't even power slide. But during the Piston Cup races, you'll see a tire meter going down a little bit after each lap. And usually around halfway through the races, you'll have to make a pit stop. Now this is where the Piston Cup races are actually fun, because now we have to do quick time events to help Guido change Lightning's tires. And your goal is to get them changed as fast as possible. I don't even know what'll happen if you don't do them in time, because I'm such an epic pro gamer that I never ran out of time. If you can even run out of time. Anyways, after you get your tires changed, you no longer need to change your tires for the rest of the race, so you can just continue racing until you get to the last lap and take the lead by like 10 seconds or something, and then win. Now we've unlocked Chapter 2, and we can play Boostin' with Fillmore, where he gives us some boost juice that makes McQueen have the zoomies, and a new boost meter. And to try out this new boost meter, we get thrown into a race where we can try out the boost with the new boost button, and win. Yeah, this race is probably one of the more underwhelming ones. But after the race, Fillmore offers us the batch of boost juice he just made, and says,
"Fill up on this batch and I'll just keep brewing it for you, free of charge."
But you can't actually get more boost from him. You'll see why later on. Continuing on with the story though, we next go to North Desert Dash. Or not. Because I didn't actually go to that event in this recording. But basically you just raced a British guy and his friends again. But I instead went to Sarge's boot camp, where he says that we're as weak as shit, and in some dire need of training. So Sarge takes us to the training ground, where we see some default-ass NPCs struggling to get up a mountain. And after Sarge kinda gives them shit for it, he gives us the instructions on how to finish the course.
Do not falter! Failure is not an option!
No faltering, check.
Now we get into a mission where we have to jump over obstacles. We beat the first 3 laps, and Sarge tells us that we'll have to be very skillful in our approaches in the next course.
You'll need to be agile, fit, athletic, and adaptable.
You've been reading my press, haven't you, Sarge? Although you left out sleek, charming, and dashing.
We then start the second mission of the course, and they basically just added more stuff for us to jump over and dodge. But I was getting tired of hitting the walls of the course every 3 seconds, so I started doing a move in the game that you don't need to worry about skipping any events for, and that's tilt. I kind of forgot that this move existed after a while of playing this game last year, but I remembered it here. It is genuinely helpful to get around tight corners. And then I forgot about this move for the rest of the game. After I beat the second mission, Sarge lectures McQueen about the last course, and how he wants him to put all of his power into it.
I want some coolant.
Move it!
And now we do the last mission. That's obviously the hardest one out of all of them. A lot more jumping and dodging. But even though I faltered a lot in this third one because my reaction timing is genuine swamp ass, I still did it because I'm an epic gamer. And now we can play Sarge's off-road challenge. Again, this is another sad instance where if you jumped prior to the jumping missions, you'll just skip all of the cutscenes with Lightning and Sarge's interactions and be thrown into the off-road challenge with this cutscene that's entirely out of context. Why is McQueen so tired? Why is Sarge talking to him like he just ran a marathon? It'll just be super confusing for someone playing this game on their first or second playthrough. Like me. Anyways, now we race while jumping off of and onto certain areas, which they actually have sprouted out in more races now. And you can also jump gaps in races. But I suck at that, so I don't normally take the shortcuts that make me jump gaps unless I'm feeling cool that day. But after I win the race, we can now go to our second Piston Cup race at Motor City Speedway. And we don't have much going on in this race. Once we beat the race, we then head to Chapter 3, where we learn Mater's backwards driving lesson. And Mater teaches us that when we're backwards, we need to turn right to go left.
Right to go left! Now where have I heard that before?
And in this little event, in order to turn backwards, you need to double tap the circle button. But the weirdest thing is that you cannot do backwards driving until after you learn it from Mater. So why do they make it so that you can do the power slide or jump and skip doing the events for said abilities? My brain's about to blow. Anyways, we complete the backwards driving lesson, where if you fail to turn around in time or go off track, you have to restart the entire event. And now we have full freedom to do what we want with the controls, without worrying about skipping any events. Let's go to Sheriff's Chase now, where Sheriff tells McQueen that he's looking out for speeders, but McQueen mishears speeders as skeeters and complains about them getting stuck in your grill, even though he has no grills for them skeeters to get stuck on. Sheriff then gives McQueen a little shit about tearing through the town, literally, not long ago, and McQueen tries to make himself look good, understandably so, and Sheriff takes this as a racing challenge for some reason. Actually, it's cause he wants to show off his new turbocharger, so we race. And we win. And McQueen proceeds to make donuts for Sheriff. We then can enter the area we just raced in, Ornament Valley, and play the Rust Bucket Race-O-Rama event, where we see Mater training for a demolition derby race because it's a family tradition, and we get introduced to one of Mater's cousins, Tommy Joe, who greets cars by giving them a hood butt. Yeah. And now we get to play with Mater for the first time, unless you've played the tractor tipping minigame beforehand. But this race is honestly pretty challenging, and even if you do play on the easier difficulty, you have to worry about not getting too far ahead, because if you get hit like I did in this area, by this guy who was a lap behind me, well...
Another day in the
After we win the race by the skin of our teeth, McQueen spots one of Mater's teeth is missing, but it turns out that he had no tooth there to begin with. Mater then gives us another Boost Juice canister, which leaves us with only one more to collect. Now we can head to Ornament Valley Circuit, where we give this car more back shots. And I did end up getting a little lost here, not noticing that the Ornament Valley race was in Ornament Valley and not in Radiator Springs, so I did waste a little bit of time playing minigames that I did not need to play. But anyways, we go to the Ornament Valley race, where some Brooklyn-sounding cars are saying to McQueen,
But if you want to be the best, first you gotta beat the best.
Also, tell me this car doesn't sound a bit like Joe Pesci.
Yeah, throw down to the ground, on the road.
But McQueen accepts the opportunity and absolutely wrecks these guys in the race. Now we can actually go to Radiator Springs and do the Piston Cup race. After hitting this car, of course. One thing I find funny about this loading screen is that it doesn't look like Lightning and Chick are giving each other the challenge stare. It looks more like the sun is so blinding that they have to squint to see each other. On with the race though, and I don't know if it's just me, but I think this is the hardest Piston Cup race of the game. I was both fighting the turns on this track, and the goofy camera that refused to stay straight. If I'm not mistaken, I think this was the first race in the game I had to restart in order to just barely get 3rd place, and continue to Chapter 4. My favorite chapter, actually. And you'll see why eventually. Cause now we get to do that drive date that Sally said we would at the Wheelwell Sprint. And this race is pretty much just the drive that they had in the first movie. Which I'm not complaining about at all, because dang this area looks nice. After we win with a whopping 1 minute and 25 second lead, damn! We get a cutscene where Lightning and Sally reminisce on the time they first raced up here. And we get to see some of the scenery which definitely doesn't look like the movie. But that's understandable. You know, it was a PS2 rendering this. After that cutscene though, we get the next event and... we get to race the Delinquent road hazards! In this event, McQueen is being blocked by the Delinquent road blockers, even though the road was blocked to begin with. Boost tells McQueen that the road is closed. McQueen says it looks fine, and DJ says that it's closed to McQueen, but McQueen can't hear him because his music is too loud. Fuck! Or maybe he's just trolling. I can't tell. Even Snotrod can't tell if McQueen's trolling. After not being able to hear DJ for the second time, DJ turns off his beats, and Wingo tells him to piss off! McQueen then proceeds to give the best roast ever.
Oh, what are you gonna slice and dice me with your spoiler?
McQueen then challenges them to a race, where if he wins, McQueen gets one of Boost's boost canisters. Because how much boost does a character named Boost need? Right? Boost and the others accept the race. And as the race is starting, Snotrod, Boost, and Wingo are wide-eyed for a reason. This music is so damn catchy for the start of a race, like what? Anyways, we start the race, and give Snotrod a back shot, but he doesn't sneeze. So I continue my most favorite race of the game, while the audio occasionally glitches out. But while I do this race, why don't I tell you a few fun facts about the delinquent road hazards that I learned from a game called Car Finder that you can only access on the Blu-ray version of the original movie. Yes, I literally bought this just for the game. Anyways, did you know that DJ's full name is Devin Montgomery Johnston III? So he isn't just named DJ because he plays music. It's because his name was way too long. Hey yo, Devin Montgomery Johnson III! What up? Second fact is about Snotrod. While he is the fastest character in the gang, in this game, he is the slowest. But if you've played Mater National, you'd know that he's actually really fast. And that's the reason why he was scrapped as a playable character in that game. They could have just turned down his speed a little bit. Come on, man, I just want to play Snotrod! That's all for the fun facts, because I won this race. I won it so good that DJ's pride has been shot. Look at that lip quiver. But since we won the race, Boost gives us the last boost canister that we need. So McQueen reads the tuners, and they look down in the dumps. So he just tells the gang not to take it so seriously, and to take some time to smell the roses. But that doesn't sound good to the gang, especially Snotrod. So Boost says,
This isn't over, McQueen.
And they bounce. And now that we got the best race out of the way, we can continue to the Telfin Pass circuit, where the Brits are talking to the Brooklyns, and we race possibly the shortest 3-lap race of the game. Like, I think there's only one shortcut in this race. Jeez, I don't know if it's just me, but I think this game is kind of getting repetitive. It's all just racing as a car. Let's change that up a little bit with Monster Truck Mayhem, where McQueen goes to Guido and Luigi in need of some tires, and not the usual white walls either. We need Monster McQueen! And we'd actually get this a couple years later in Mater's Tall Tales. So we race in the Rust Bucket place again, but this time there's more obstacles on the track. Other than that, there's not much else to this race. But I noticed that when McQueen has bigger tires, he gets more intimidating.
What'd you say, puny tow truck?
Lightning, for Pete's sake, the race is over. You can stop your yelling now.
Oh yeah, right. Right, sorry.
Those tires are possessing him. Next we go to Chick's Challenge, where now we see that Chick is hanging around with the Brooklyn guys. And he's here because he wants to try out some new tricks he learned. And McQueen proceeds to humble the hell out of Chick in front of his friends. And Chick actually says something pretty clever.
Hey, Mr. Educated, you ready to get schooled?
But it doesn't really play out well for him because he gets schooled even more. If you win the race, of course. When the race is done, McQueen trolls Chick a little bit, and Chick is clearly not immune.
The roads out here aren't like the tracks you and I are used to. No, they got these things called right turn.
Hey, so what? Wasn't a real race anyway. Nobody was there to see it or watch us. Nobody's there. It's like if a tree falls in the forest and nobody, doesn't get hurt. Does anybody see it? Or, hear it?
Oh, that's right. I forgot. You like losing in front of a crowd. See you at the stadium.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll see you. If you ever make it there.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, you'll soon find out, McQueen, because now we get to do High Speed Heist, where we have to play as DJ, Boost, and Wingo, and Snotrod. Oh my god! To steal stuff from Mac's trailer. And this is another one of my favorite events in this game, because it changes so much stuff up. Not only do you get to play as most of the road hazards, but instead of having to race, you have to race against the time and dodge the cars in your way. And each character you play as in this event has their own little mission. DJ has to catch up to Mac and play music to make him honk shoe. Boost has to catch up to Mac, making sure not to bump into cars so horribly that it makes the game have a stroke, and use the ramp that Snotrod is carrying to get on top of Mac so he can shake the door open, making Lightning's gear fall out, where Wingo has to catch up and collect 5 of McQueen's gearboxes while also avoiding other things coming out of the trailer that'll slow him down. And once you're done, Wingo tells DJ and Boost that the goods have been collected, and they drive off, with Snotrod not far behind scaring Mac awake with a sneeze, and Boost driving off of the roof of Mac's trailer, with Mac realizing that he was robbed. Also, did you notice that Snotrod was carrying that ramp the entire time? It's almost like he carried the entire event. Anyways, with the next event, Lightning Strikes Back, you can already guess what happens. McQueen finds out from Sheriff that some punk kids stole McQueen's stuff from Mac's trailer.
That's it. You can mess with me, but you don't mess with my friend.
McQueen then becomes a vigilante and gives backshots to all the road hazards that are now actually living up to their name by driving on the wrong side of the highway so that we can get his gear back. And once we get all our gear back, we see that the gang are now in the impound. They confess, saying that it wasn't their idea, and they got paid off by some green race car.
I don't know, he had a mustache.
Ah, Chick.
And that's the last time we see the delinquent road hazards in this game, which is very unfortunate. But the show must go on, and we continue to not do the Smasherville Speedway, because we forgot to do another event called Doc's Checkup, where in this cutscene it is very apparent that McQueen had gotten an upgrade that we didn't actually get in the entire game. Yeah, the upgrade was actually taken out of the game, meaning this race is one of the most pointless in the entire game. But I did it anyways. Moving on though, we go to the Smasherville International Speedway event, where we see that Lightning's ready to strike back, but on Chick this time. But Doc gives Lightning the advice not to let Chick get to his head. And with that, we head off to the race, where McQueen confronts Chick about what happened, but Chick plays it off like he did nothing, and says that he's just looking forward to a friendly race. That we absolutely decimate him in, by the way. And we get a cutscene with Chick arguing that McQueen cheated, but McQueen gives out the idea of doing a Radiator Springs Grand Prix to settle the matter, like at the start of the game. This time though, with a twist. And Chick accepts the challenge. And that leads us to the final chapter of the game, most of which are just Grand Prix. The first of which takes place in Radiator Springs, where McQueen, the Brits, and Chick are racing.
He's the ugly green car with the mustache, right?
Hey! Who you calling ugly? Spit cup?
I love the interactions in this game. Since these races are the final races of the game, these races are pretty lengthy. Count how many times I say race in this entire video. But once we finish the first Grand Prix, we go to Tailfin Pass Grand Prix.
Listen, we ain't done had no one fall off these here roads in a long time. I think.
And you'd think that Chick is scared of falling off the cliff or something, but he's more scared about the phone reception. Lies. Now we start the second Grand Prix, which is only one lap by the way, but we're racing in the same area that we raced the delinquent road hazards in, so you know I'm just soaking this up. Until 3.5 minutes have passed, and we finish the second Grand Prix. Now we can do the last one in Ornament Valley, where we see Vince, the Brooklyn guy, and we find out that he's camera shy.
He's got to train with like a real professional racer, you know? Someone who could win a lot. Yeah.
Honestly relatable. And we get the coolest race startup scene besides the Tuner Gang one, where McQueen is getting circled by the racers before lining up at the start. And in this race, Chick is actually kind of being challenging to deal with. Only until the final lap, of course, where we win with a 30-second lead. Now on to the last Piston Cup race of the game. Los Angeles International Speedway. And we get a cutscene where Mac is feeling kinda sad, because he's gonna miss this stuff. But McQueen cheers him up, saying that he's gotta defend his trophy next season anyways. So they head off, and here it is. Win this race to finish the story. We got this. We win with a 6-second lead. With that final race done, we see McQueen jumping on a massive ass piston cup like holy shit, why is it that big? And we get another scene where more cute interactions happen. The credits roll, and we get our final cutscene where Sally asks McQueen where he put his piston cup, and he says that he put it in a good place, where the camera pans to the piston cup that's right beside the other ones that Doc had won. A beautiful ending. But we ain't done yet. I still haven't done the mini games. Well, actually I did, but I was lost and confused. So, let's take a proper look at the minigames. There are only 4 minigames in total. 2 in the first chapter, 1 in the second, and 1 in the third. The first one you encounter is probably the hardest one out of all of them. McQueen checks up on how Lizzie's doing, but he accidentally knocks over a whole shelf somehow, and that leads to a domino effect where a bolt ends up hitting a fan and blows away all of the postcards. And you need to find 20 of them in total, and some of them are hidden really good too. The second minigame is tractor tipping, where you can play as both Mater and McQueen tipping tractors, while avoiding getting caught by the headlights of Frank or the spotlight scattered in some levels. Yes, Lizzie's minigame is the only minigame to not have levels. I think. But back to tractor tipping though. The controls here are actually super different compared to the rest of the game. You control Mater and McQueen like how you would in Halo, with the analog stick. But that's because the acceleration button, that's usually the X button if you're on PlayStation, is now the honking button. Super weird controls overall, but it's alright. That's about all I know for the tractor tipping minigame, so let's get onto the third minigame, Luigi to the Rescue, where McQueen breaks the news to Luigi and Guido that there's a bunch of tires and hubcaps scattered around town. So Luigi takes things into his own hands, and we play as Luigi going around and collecting hubcaps and tires, with a time limit. I forgot to mention that the tractor tipping minigame also has a time limit, and that's about all I know for this minigame. On to the last one, Sheriff's Hot Pursuit. You have to play as Sheriff, and you have to chase down 3 speeders while also not losing track of them, because you'll have to try and find them again. And the more levels you unlock, the more different areas you'll be in. Do you chase them in Tailfin Pass? I don't know. But I don't think you would anyways, because it's just a bunch of winding roads. Also, you get to chase Snotrod in this minigame, so that's a bonus. And for all these minigames, you get a trophy whenever you complete a level. I think the number of trophies go up after a few levels. Yeah, I don't know enough about these minigames to be talking about them, honestly. And if you're thinking, why not just beat all of them and then talk about them? The reason is because after I played through the game, I tried to boot up the modded version of the game that has Snotrod in it, and it ended up having a weird audio glitch that broke the game. So I had to do a fresh boot of it, and turns out it also messed with the non-modded version of the game, so I had to do a fresh boot of that game too, and it's still giving me the issue even after re-downloading the games. I can play them, but I can't save them. So yeah. Let's talk about a few more things before we get into the ranking. So in this game, you can go to Ramon's House of Body Art, where you can give yourself a new paint job. And you can also unlock more paint jobs by using the points you get while doing tricks and races, or by literally collecting the points that are scattered all over the place. You can also use the points to unlock other things, like deleted scenes from scrapped events in the game, and some of the original movie scenes, where you can actually watch the tuner scene. But for this game, they used the unused audio from when the movie was being made, so the engine sounds are completely different. Since I don't want to play the original audio for copyright reasons, I will instead play a comparison of Snotrod revving his supercharger, because that was the sound that was changed the most. And you can also unlock some art, and unlock playable characters. Now I think we can get into the ranking, where I'm going to rank the parts of this game out of 5 piston cups. So first off, the controls. The controls in this game surprisingly feel very nice. When you get to utilize the controls fully, of course. Though the power slides in this game can be kind of iffy at times. Sometimes it'll just not respond properly when you do the button combination. Other than that small problem though, the controls feel very good, and I'm going to rank it a 4.5 out of 5. Next is the story. Even though the story of this game takes place after the movie, nothing much really happens story-wise, besides the king is no longer racing because he had his last race in the movie. The story is mostly just McQueen training for the Piston Cup race of the season, while going on little side quests, and that's not a big deal in my opinion. In fact, I think it actually makes the story more charming. I like myself a short and sweet story, as it gives me more time to understand what's happening. I'll rank this story a 4 out of 5. Now for the cutscenes. I absolutely love the cutscenes in this game, bro. They are so charming. When you actually get to see them. 4.5 out of 5. Now, I did want to include this in the cutscenes because there's a lot of it in there, but I made it its own thing because there's something really cool about it. And that's the voice acting. Now, I'm not sure if you know this, but they have all of the original voice actors from the movie voicing their respective characters and some NPCs in this game. Yes, this was Paul Newman and George Carlin's first and only game to voice in, and everyone did a fantastic job doing their voices. I give the voice acting a 5 out of 5. Next is the races. One thing I like about most of the races that have them is the shortcuts, but other than that, the races are always different track-wise. Either you start a race in the same area but go through different areas throughout, or you completely do the race backwards from how you did it before. And again, one of my favorite races is the Delinquent Road Hazards. And it's not only because they're in it, it's also because this race has a variety of shortcuts that are really fun to try and access. But on to my least favorite races of the game, that being the Piston Cup races. You just do a few turns for 12 laps, and you can't even use most of the movesets that you unlock. I'm gonna rate the road races a 4.5 out of 5, and the Piston Cup races a 2.5 out of 5. Next is playable characters. I have to give it a 1 out of 5 because they don't have Snotrod, but they do have Wingo. Joke, by the way. There's actually a large roster of characters you can play as, one of them being the King, of course being voiced by Richard Petty, but you can only play as him in the Piston Cup races. Ew. And as I said, the only member of the DRH you can play as is Wingo. But playing as Wingo is kind of annoying, because a spoiler blocks half of your view, leading you to change to a different camera angle so that you can see in front of you better. I ranked the playable character roster a 3.5 out of 5. I'm still butthurt for most of the Tuner Gang not being playable. And last off is the music. There's some licensed music, and some music that was made by Bruno Kuhn for the game. The licensed music and the music made for the game is pretty good, and fits the vibes pretty well. With my favorite songs in the game, of course, being the banger that is the Delinquent Road Hazards intro, High Speed Heist, and I'm not sure you were expecting this one, But here comes Sheriff. I like the Delinquent Road Hazards music because it's catchy as hell, but the song that plays while you're playing as Sheriff chasing down speeders, it's so good. One of the coolest things about this song is this. The way that guitar sounds like a siren, literally so peak. I have to give the music a 4 out of 5. And in total, I give this game a 4.5 out of 5. I just really wish I could play a version of the game where the Delinquent Road Hazards were actually playable. Oh wait! Yeah, I was originally planning to just play the Cars game on the PS2, but when I played the PSP version of this game for the first time, I was super impressed. Keep in mind that this version of the game is completely different due to it being ported to the PlayStation Portable, meaning there is no open world that you can explore, and everything about this game is purely racing, which will make me reviewing this and ranking it a lot easier. Let's get into the story of the game. We start the game by racing. You'll get used to this, by the way, but after 3 laps, McQueen has to come to a screeching halt to avoid hitting the goats. The S stands for Snot Rod, and McQueen tries getting them out of the way, saying he almost ran into them.
We heard you the first time, pal. Yeah, we didn't know you owned the road. Owned.
Boost, that wasn't funny. Even Snot Rod didn't think that was funny, bro. Look at the face he makes after processing what DJ says. Pure disappointment. Moving on, Boost says that it's a nice place, and they want to wreck it a bit. So McQueen gives them a deal. If the Tuners win the race, they get to stay. And if Lightning's team wins, the Tuners gotta skedaddle. The gang agrees. So McQueen's now trying to convince his team to take the gang on. But Fillmore doesn't wanna, because he's a pacifist. And Mater points out that they ain't so fast. That's until he sees a can of Super Octane Boost juice. That makes him super speedy. So the race is on. And our second race takes place in Radiator Springs. And one thing you probably noticed in the first race before the story started is that the characters are now way faster and actually kind of hard to catch up to. And this time you don't actually get the benefit of gaining a lead by the 3rd lap of the race. Meaning if you fuck up something severe on the 3rd lap, you cannot just boost and win. You're screwed. But somehow I beat the entire story, only needing to restart 2 races once. And if you're wondering what happens if you don't win the race in first place, you just gotta play the race over again. But that only applies to the other races after the first one, because you couldn't even win the races with the roadblockers. Also, I don't know if this was an emulation issue, but I don't remember the characters looking like they were having a stroke when they talked at the end of a race.
Oh yeah! I am good!
Anyways, we go to our next race and see Red. Now, I don't know if you recalled this, but Red wasn't even in the PS2 game, so seeing him here is a nice surprise, even if he is made up of 6 polygons. Also, the races still have shortcuts, and more uniquely, ones that need to be opened before you can go through them. And the last thing I want to mention for now is that the physics be damned in this game, because someone could be barely on your side, they'll turn, and you'll eat shit on the wall. And there's something funny that happens on the 4th race of this game. I'm honestly thinking it's a glitch. So there's this lifeless truck that will pull out. Nothing weird about that. He's just an obstacle. But on the 3rd lap of this race, where on one of the caverns you pass through, you'll see that the truck has laid out a ramp for us to take a shortcut. But the truck's AI got stuck in the freaking wall of the cavern. He's just there forever. But after that race, we get to see a cutscene with DJ giving us the best dialogue.
Hey, I hope you like music, 'cause you're about to get played.
I'm trembling, I'm sweating, I'm so scared. But this is our first rival race of the game, and DJ actually puts up a pretty decent challenge in this race. But we still win the race, even after eating shit on the wall for about 10 seconds. And he complains that his subwoofer was too heavy. And boom, we've unlocked DJ. Next couple of races aren't much to talk about, really. Except now we're avoiding falling boulders while getting dizzy because there's a freaking earthquake happening in this race. Next race is much more chill by comparison, only having dust devils in one area that are really easy to avoid. And the 3rd race, you just drive in the fields while avoiding Frank coming out making your heart stop. Normally this race takes me a few tries, but I did it first try for the 2nd time. Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention is that I did something stupid and I accidentally deleted the original recording I did for the PSP. And in that original recording, I beat this race first try for the first time. Always have backups of your videos. Anyways, now it's time. Snotrod is looking forward to blowing you away. More like blow you up. Our second rival race is Snotrod. Of course though, we have to watch the cutscene. That's all he does in the scene. He doesn't even say anything, though he does actually say something when I pass him in the race.
Wait a minute!
so that's cool. Also, it seems like Snotrod is living up to being the fastest in his gang, cause he's actually pretty fast in this race. But after we win, we get a cutscene where Snotrod fails to sneeze. Relatable as fuck. Now we've unlocked Snotrod. Next race we do has us in a train station. Nothing much happens except for this train I almost hit head on. Second race, I try to access a shortcut, but it no worky. I still win though. And the third race actually has a pretty fun gimmick. So there are these boost ramps on the long road, and they're double-sided, meaning you can take them both ways around. But they have a button in front of them, where if you push it when the boost ramp is showing, it'll put up a barrier that could screw you or an AI up. And there's a button on the other side too, obviously. I honestly really like this race. It's very fun. And now we get to race Wingo.
Checking out my decals, huh? Hey, a winner's gotta look good, you know? Guess we ain't learned that yet.
And this was the first race I needed to reset, because there's this weird glitch that happens where if you fail to make a shortcut or hit something around the shortcut area, it'll just show that you're going the wrong way. And I didn't know how to fix this, so I just restarted it. After we beat the race though, we get this masterpiece of a scene.
Yeah, whatever. Don't go calling your mama with the good news just yet. You're up against Boost next.
That's right, Boost is our last rival, and we've unlocked Wingo. In the last few races though, we have one of the most annoying ones here, where we have to avoid construction trucks that are driving at us. And not only that, but we have to avoid this stupid lumber truck and the logs he drops. Be quiet. Next race isn't so bad, just a lot of twists and turns. But there's also lightning strikes that burn down the trees so that you can take shortcuts through them. Third race though. This one actually made me rage restart because I had no chance of winning. These little minecarts and pillars are why. I hate this race! But now we get to our last rival, Boost.
Wait a sec, you schooled those guys? Okay, I gotta find myself a new crew. Let's get this over with.
Now remember in this race previously there was lightning striking down the trees? Well, since the shortcuts are open now, Boost is gonna take the hardest one to get right, that I actually did right all 3 times somehow. What happens if you don't take the shortcut properly is you'll end up ricocheting and be automatically placed where the shortcut doesn't end. Then you can count your race with Boost as lost. Unless you're like me, of course, in which you'll end up winning and you'll have all the tuners unlocked. And since I played the tuners like DJ plays his music, Boost tells us that the next guy we're gonna be racing knows racing.
Yeah, I like to make it look easy.
Hey, it's Jig!
Hey, you better watch your bumper.
Next scene though, straight up uses dialogue from the cutscene in the PS2.
Hey, check it out.
Well, you know, I just figured you might want to get acquainted with the view. You know what I mean? You know, because you're going to be spending a lot of time behind me. In the race. We're going to be in the race and I'll be ahead of you and you'll be behind me. In the race! Is it me? What are we not getting here?
Also, look at how cute Snotrod looks here. Bro! And now we get to do our last race. That's actually on a proper track. And even though Chick takes a head start, we take some shortcuts and beat his ass. After we get more dialogue from the PS2 game in the cutscene, McQueen tells the tuners that it was nice racing. And that's it for the game. Very sudden ending. I know. But did you notice something? Red appeared in the first cutscene of the game, along with the other characters we'd race with. And he appeared in the last cutscene, but he wasn't a playable character at all. I guess he was just there in case someone got hurt. All that aside though, I think now we can get into the ranking of this game. First off, let's talk controls. This game feels really good to control, though this game still kind of has a drifting problem that the PS2 version has, where sometimes you just won't drift. But the steering and everything else feels really good. I give the controls a 4.5 out of 5. Next is the races. They are fun. For the most part. But I have to say my most favorite racetracks would have to be the track where you race Snotrod, the one where you race Wingo, and the one where you race Boost. All 3 of these tracks are really fun in my opinion. I give the races a 4.5 out of 5. Next is the story. The story here is really simple, even more so than the PS2 version. But I like that. Not much to talk about. I rank the story a 4 out of 5. And here's my favorite one. The cutscenes. The cutscenes here are really good. I especially love the animations for all the characters here. They look so expressive. This cutscene is probably my favorite because of the tuners' reactions in the background. They all look so confused. I rank the cutscenes a 5 out of 5. And last off is the voice acting. Now for this game, the only voice that they changed was McQueen's voice. In this game, he's voiced by Keith Ferguson, who normally voices McQueen when Owen Wilson can't have his wallet filled. But other than that, they reused a lot of the same voice lines for races, and some for cutscenes. And fun fact, there's a line that Doc says in this game that's used in the Cars 3 movie.
You might want to take notes on this one.
I thought that this was really cool, and I'm gonna rank the voice acting a 5 out of 5. In total, I'm gonna give this game a 4.5 out of 5. So does the Cars game for the PS2 and PSP hold up after 20 years? Hell yeah! The sad thing about these games is that no one gives them the attention that they really deserve. Most people think that these games are just your average, run-of-the-mill, sloppily made video game adaptations just to make more money. But you can actually feel the passion that was put into these games. If you've never played these games before and go up to someone who has, they will most likely tell you that these games were really fun to play. And if you've never played them, you should. Even if you've never experienced any Cars media prior, I'm sure you'll have a blast just messing around in the open world, hitting other cars. Or if you play the PSP version of the game, you'll probably just have a blast having more challenging races. And if you play on the PSP emulator, you'll even be able to play with other people online. So you can get your friends or online friends and race with them. Play the games however you want, and hopefully you like it. One more thing before I end off the video. Please, Disney, Pixar, bring back the Tuner Gang and more media. I'm happy that we're gonna get a book in a few months that has the tuners in it, but also add them, and not just DJ, into more Cars media. Please, I'm desperate! Even people who voted on my channel in Discord want them back. Anyways, bye.